A lot of people have been asking me how to build your .NET MAUI application with GitHub Actions, so here is a video. We're starting with Android. Now, I'm going to assume that you already know what GitHub is, so that's where you store all your code. It's hosted by GitHub, all the repositories, all the Git things, all the videos that I've put out there have GitHub links attached to them with the code that you can find there. So you probably know what GitHub is, but what you might not know is what GitHub Actions is. With GitHub Actions, you can do all kinds of automations. You can automate all the things. It's basically just a hosted agent waiting for you in the cloud until you tell it what to do, and those actions can be really anything. You can just run command line code, so you can do a lot of with that. It's just really powerful stuff. But what you can also do with that is enable your CI pipeline, so your continuous integration pipeline, or distribute it from there. Everything you want you can do with GitHub Actions, and you can also build your .NET MAUI applications with that. So in this video we're starting with Android. Other videos will also have iOS, Android. No, this is going to be Android, iOS, macOS, and Windows. So maybe a playlist pops up on your screen right now with the rest of the videos. Be sure to check those out. But you can do all of that with GitHub Actions. So we're going to focus on Android for this video, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So here we are in Visual Studio 2022, where I created a file new .NET MAUI application, and it doesn't really matter what kind of application it is. Well, it has to be a .NET MAUI application, of course, but it can be as extensive or as simple as you want it to be, because it's not really about the application, right? It's about how we're going to build it. So as long as we know for sure that this application can build, then we're good to go. So what I did, I took this application and I put it on GitHub. There's no surprise. So here it is. I already uploaded it here. I committed all my stuff. So this is basically where we're going to have our demo. So you already know what GitHub is, but here we have that Actions tab, and here is where GitHub Actions starts. So let's go over here, and you can see we have all these kinds of things. So get started with GitHub Actions. It's going to try to help us. So you can set up GitHub Actions for deployment, for security, for continuous integration, for automation. You can do all these things. And the really nice thing is it already sees that our code in here is .NET and C#. So it's going to suggest something for our repository. And we can just take this .NET one. You can search for workflows if that's what you need, if it's not suggesting the right one. But we can just click this .NET configure button right here, and it will create a .NET.yaml file. So everything is going to be YAML, which also makes it easier if you prefer Azure DevOps. That works on YAML as well. I'm not sure. Well, it's all YAML. It's all standardized, right? So you can just take this and put it in Azure DevOps, and it should work there as well, or at least parts of it, right? So we're going to see the actions here on the right, and those are maybe not available on Azure DevOps. Anyway, if you want to do that, there's options. Now, the way this works, you can see here the repository name, then we have the .github folder, then a workflows folder, and then under that we can have YAML files, and that is where all the YAML files, that's where all the GitHub Actions will live. So as long as you put it there, the Actions tab will pick it up, and you can run that as GitHub Actions. Now, I'm not going to go extensively over how GitHub Actions exactly work or how YAML works. I'm going to assume that you have a little bit of knowledge there. So here we have this name. So this is going to be the name of our GitHub action. So let's make this build.NET MAUI app. Or we maybe want to add something for CI, right? This is just going to be a CI build. Then here we say something about trigger. So on a push to the main branch, this action is going to trigger. If a pull request happens which targets the main branch, this action is going to run for that. And there's lots of more triggers. You can do nightly stuff. You can do, so based on a certain time or date, you can do all those things. You can run it manually if that's what you want. You can configure that here. For now, this is fine. Then under that, we have jobs. So you can define multiple jobs which can run concurrently if that's what you want. We're just going to stick with this one. And under that, we have this build. And here we can specify runs on. Now here you can say Ubuntu. We're going to run this on Windows. It's the Android app, so you can also run it on macOS if that's what you want. I think you can just do Mac or Mac OS probably, but we're going to run it on Windows for now. Find in the documentation for GitHub Actions what the exact options here. You can also say Windows, I don't know, 2019 to get a specific one, but for the latest, that's kind of like the automatically updated Windows version. And under that, we have the steps. So here we're going to define the steps that is going to make up our build. Here we have this first one. It's just boom uses, and this refers to an action, which we can find here on the right. So let me get myself out of the way here for a little bit. We can search the marketplace for actions. So these are with the little check mark. I think those are created by GitHub, and we can find that checkout one actually, and that's going to check out like our repository, right? So without any parameters, it's just going to check out the repository this is running on, and that's about it. But you have all these predefined actions that you can use, or you can create your own action if you're still missing something, or you have kind of like this scenario that you want to use, or you can just run terminal commands. That's something that you can totally do as well. But here we have the first step, which uses the actions checkout. And this is basically, if you go to github.com/actions/checkout, you will get to the actions account, and under that, the checkout repository. So you should also be able to check out the code there. And here with the add v3, you can pin it to a certain version so that the build doesn't break whenever they decide to update their version. So this is going to check out our code. Then we have this next one, and we have the name setup.net, which again uses the action setup.net by actions. And this width here, you can specify parameters that you can input as parameters for the action that you're going to run here, or for the step that you're going to run here. So here we specify the .NET version. It's set to 5 right now, and we want to make this 6 because .NET MAUI runs on .NET 6. So we have 6.0.x, which means that it will automatically take like the newest minor version of .NET 6, which is fine. Then here we have restore dependencies, and this just says run. And with run, you're just running a terminal command. So this just does .NET restore because we just installed .NET, so we can do all the .NET stuff now. And then we have build, .NET build, no restore because we did the restore here. .NET test, you can test all of your code. So you can do all these things, which is really cool. Now, we're not going to do test, of course. Don't try this at home. You have to do your tests, but I'm going to skip that for now. And what we are missing here, so we installed .NET, but we didn't install the MAUI workload. So we still need to add a little step here. We can do that by adding this dash. And if you know YAML, then you know it all works by indentation. So make sure that this all looks right. And we can say name install .NET MAUI. And then we can just say tab run because we need to get the indentation right, else it's going to give us errors. And we can say .NET workload install MAUI, and that's going to install the .NET MAUI workload on this machine. Because it's a hosted machine in the cloud, we still need to install our things here. And then it can restore dependencies and build our things. Now, for .NET MAUI, of course, we have this single project approach, at least for this app. So we're going to have to specify a little bit for this .NET build. We're going to say .NET build, and we're going to actually specify the csproj file, because if you're going to do this .NET build or .NET publish, it's going to try and publish all those projects individually. So that's not something that you want. And to be sure that it doesn't happen with .NET build, we're just going to reference the csproj, and nothing like that will happen. So let's go back to the root of our repository, because all the paths that we have to specify are going to be, this is the root of our project, and we have to be relative to that. So we have this MAUI Actions GitHub sample, and then in there we have the csproj. So I'm just going to copy this one once because the csproj has the exact same name. So let's close this again, and we can just say this/this .csproj, and now we've specified the csproj, so we're going to build that. And what we need to also say is -c, so maybe this is the configuration. Maybe you want to do a release build here just to be sure, or you want to do a debug, whatever, that's up to you. And we need to specify, because the .NET MAUI project is a single project for all the platforms, we need to specify which target we want to build. So let's say -t, no, actually -f, for framework is going to be .NET 6.0 Android. And this is the thing that you're going to find. Let's go back to our project here, to the csproj. This is whatever you're going to find here in your target frameworks, right? So this has to match with whatever you specify for -f. So we've got that in place, and actually this is all we need to do to actually build our application. So if I just do start commit, and I commit this file to, this path here, I'm going to do this on the main branch directly. You want to do it probably on a pull request or something like that, but I'm going to do it in the main directly. Here it is, it's saved, and whenever we go to the Actions tab now, we can automatically see here on the left the name that we specify, build .NET MAUI app CI, and create.net.yaml. That's the commit message that we gave. That's why it's showing up here. And whenever we click that, you can see each run. So whenever we run this action, let's go back. Whenever we run this action, each run will show up in this overview right here. Whenever I click into one, you can see whatever happened or what's happening right now. So you can see the jobs here on the left. We just have the build one. If you have multiple jobs, you will see them showing up here, or on the right in this cool graphical interface. And whenever you click on one, you can see actually what is going on right now with this build. So I'm not going to bore you with all this scrolling logging right here, but this is going to set up .NET. It's going to install .NET MAUI. You can see all the steps that we've defined. It's going to run through all this, and we'll have a successful build at the end. But Gerald, I thought this was going to be hard. This seems so easy. You're absolutely right. And it's a little bit harder than this because, if you just want to do CI and whenever a pull request comes in, you want to verify that, see if everything still builds, this is perfectly fine, right? It will take the code from the PR, the rest of the code that's there, it will run the build, and whenever the build succeeds, apparently the author has done a great job and everything is good to go. But what if you want to use this for also deployment, or you want to actually get a signed AAB or APK file, in this case for Android? You'll need that Keystore file to actually sign the application, right? So let me show you how to actually do that and get the AAB file that you can then upload to the App Store. So here we are back in our browser. The build is still running. Things are going fine. So meanwhile, while this is running, let's look into how to create that Keystore file. Now I have a couple of videos on actually publishing your app. The playlist will pop up on your screen right now, or you can find it down below in the video description. Go check that out for all the details. Right now I'm going to skip over, you knowing what already a key file is, a Keystore file is, and what that does exactly. So I'm going to copy a command here from off screen. Let me input that here. And what this does is use the keytool.exe, also works on a Mac, and that will generate a Keystore for you. Now the Keystore file, you will need that to sign your application time and time again. If you've submitted something to the Google App Store once with this Keystore, you have to hold on to it, because if you lose that Keystore file, you will not be able to provide updates to the Google Play Store. So make sure that you have this. We have a couple of parameters. We want to generate the Keystore, verbosity, and we want to do that Keystore to myapp.keystore on the next line. So we have this Keystore. This alias is something that you need to do as well. That's an alias inside of your Keystore. I'm setting it to key. Can be whatever you want. The key algorithm, actually, let's not make this key. Actually, let's make this a little bit more recognizable so that it's not so generic. GitHub Actions key, let's make it that. And then the key algorithm, RSA, the key size, and the validity. So again, you need to make it very valid for a very long time, because if this Keystore file expires, then you will not be able to bring updates to the Google Play Store. Now, if you enter this command, then it's going to ask you for a password. Now, let's make this simply password. So you can't see it, but I'm inputting that right now, password. Of course, you want to find something stronger. And whenever you do this, then it's going to ask you for a first name and last name, where you live, your email address, a couple of those things. You don't have to fill out everything, but you have to at least fill out one thing. So I'm just going to fill out my name here, organizational unit, the name of your organization, my city. You see, you can do all these kinds of things. My 2-letter country code, let's just do that. And then it's going to ask you like, hey, is this correct? You'll have to enter yes, else it's going to go over all of this again. So yes, and now it's going to ask me to create a password for that alias. So you can see here the GitHub Actions key, that's my alias. It's going to be a separate password. So let's make this password alias, password alias. Oh, I don't know if I did that right. Let's go back. Password alias, so that we know that it's a different password. We're going to see in a little bit why that is. So now it generated the Keystore. So if I check out the contents of this directory, we have this Keystore. Fine, we can use that to sign our application. This is perfect. Now the next thing we want to do, because we need to specify this in our GitHub action. So the kind of like easiest thing to do is just commit this file to the repository, and we can sign it with that, right? We can just use it inside of our GitHub action. But that's probably not what you want to do. This is something that you do not want in the hands of other people, because then they can sign their application, and if they get access to your account, they can do all kinds of crazy things. So that's not what you want. You will want to have this in your secrets. Now, GitHub Actions and other build system will have secrets. So if I scroll up here and go to the settings tab, we will have here on the left the secrets. And we have secrets for actions, code spaces, or dependabot, kind of like scope to all of these products, but we need it for the actions. And here we can set up all the secrets that we can then use as variables inside of our GitHub Actions. So let's create a new repository secret, and you will see we can only enter a name and a value. We cannot put files in here. So either you have to come up with a secure store, maybe Azure Key Vault. I don't know if that does something. You can put your file there and download that inside of your GitHub action. That's totally something that you can do. But another route, at least for like small files, what we can take is encode that file as base64. Then we can decode it again back to the disk on the GitHub action and use it that way. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Now let me name this Keystore file, and we're going to need that value. Now, how are we going to get that? We have GPG or PGP, which is a open source format to kind of like encrypt and decrypt data. You can send your emails with that securely, but you can also encrypt and decrypt files in base64. It's not installed by default on Windows, so just Google with Bing GPG PGP client for Windows. You will get it automatically. I have it installed here, and it's also installed on the Windows client that the GitHub Actions run on. So that's good to know. I think for Mac, it's already installed, so you can just use it with that. What we're going to say is GPG, and then we're going to say -c, -- armor, and then we're going to say myapp.keystore. And these are the parameters that we need to actually encrypt a file. So if I enter this command, it's going to ask me for a password, and I'm going to say GPG password. GPG password. Let's click the little I here, see if we got that right. That looks all right. It's going to warn me probably that this password is not really secure. It isn't. If you're going to do this, make sure that you have a secure password, save that somewhere safe, and use that throughout. So you take this one anyway. I'm going to roll with this. And now if I inspect my folder here, we're going to have the ASC file here as well. So that's our encrypted Keystore file. And whenever I print the contents of that file, you can do that with cat myapp keystore ASC. You can see that this is a base64 encoded PGP message, which is exactly what we want. So make sure to include this header and the footer as well. So we're going to select all of this, copy that, and put that inside of our thing here. So we have this as a value now. Now, again, if you have like files that are megabytes big, then please don't use this. There's probably a max to this field length, so you're not going to be able to put this all in here. But for smaller files like a Keystore, this works perfectly. So let's add that secret. What we're also going to do is add another secret, which is going to be our Keystore password. So that's just going to be password. Let's do that. Then we have again, another one. So we have the Keystore password alias. We have that alias password, right? So that was password alias. And then we have our GPG password. So let's add another one. And we're going to do Keystore password GPG. And that was GPG password, right? I hope so. So if I got mixed up here somewhere, make sure that these values match between what you just entered, and it will all be fine. So let's add that secret. And now we got these all here. You have to make note of all these names here, because those are the names that we're going to refer to whenever we update our GitHub action. So let's get back to the actions here. I hope. Here we go. Create a .NET YAML. Our action succeeded. So we now have built our application successfully. That's a win. So what we can do now is go over, actually, let's go to code, and we see now here the .github workflows, and we see our file here. So let's go edit that. And whenever we do, we get back to this editor, and what we want to do now is first kind of like get back our encoded Keystore file. So let's do that. I'm going to do that, I don't know, right after, I don't know, just after the checkout. It doesn't really matter where you do it. So let's enter a name here, and we're going to say install, well, setup. Let's make it setup keystore file, and we're just going to run another command here in the terminal, and I'm going to copy that here for a little bit because it's a big command, well, bigger, and you don't want to watch me type here. So let me just paste this in here. This little pipe sign here means that on the next line, we're going to have a multi-line command. So that's just a YAML thing. We're going to echo, and that's basically, we mean we're going to write this keystore file. Let's make this keystore file. I think I named it file. Into, that's what this little angle bracket means, into the myapp.keystore.acs. So it's going to write the contents into this file right here. And this notation with the $sign and the double curly brackets, and then we do secrets.keystore file. So that's the way to access the variables here. So this is going to be replaced by our variable that we just saved in the secrets, and we're going to save it to this file. Then we're going to do gpg -d, so we're going to decrypt it with this passphrase, and I think I named this keystore password, right? Well, I named it GPG. I hope it's going to be okay here. So, and again, make sure that these all match. And then I'm going to say batch myapp.keystore.asc into myapp.keystore. So now it will just be available through myapp.keystore again. And we will have all of that in here. So when we have that, our keystore file should be in place, but we also want to use it here in our .NET build command. So let's update that for a little bit. And what we want to do, again, I'm going to copy a couple of parameters here, so you don't have to watch me type all this because it is a lot. And it's going to have a little bit of different values than what I just entered in the secrets from when I prepared this. So a lot of parameters came in. We're starting here. The Android sign-in keystore is the myapp.keystore. That's perfectly fine. You can also define this inside of your CSproj file as an XML tag if that's what you want, if this is never going to change anyway. But this is going to be like, you know, a value. You can do this way as well. Android signing key alias. See, that's that alias that we needed right here. What did I make of that? Let's scroll up here a little bit. I made it GitHub Actions key. So let's copy that. Put in the GitHub Actions key here. That's our alias that we're using. And here we have this signing key pass, signing store pass. So you can see we're again using the variables here. So let me actually go back to the settings and double check if I got everything all right, to our secrets right here, our actions. So I have this keystore file. I think I got that one. Let's scroll back here. Keystore file, keystore password GPG. Let's check that one, GPG. And then I have keystore password and keystore password alias. Okay, I can do that. I can remember that. So we have keystore password and keystore password GP. No, not GPG. Alias. Alias. Was it alias? Oh my gosh, I said I could remember it and I couldn't. There we are, alias. Okay, that's the one that we want. So we have this alias now. And this is basically everything we need to also sign our application and do it that way. But there is still one problem. If you want to sign and do all these things, the file will still be on that GitHub Action agent that's running this build, right, in the cloud. So you're not going to be able to access your files. Now, depending on what you want to do next, there is multiple things possible. So you can just search here for the marketplace for like Google Play Store, and you can upload this to the Google Play Store directly. You will have to connect your account and you can just upload it through that. There's multiple steps to do that. So you will just have to specify the file, the path to the file. You can figure that out where to send it, and it will go to the Play Store directly. Or what you also might want to do is upload it as an artifact. So what you can do is search here for artifact, and you can upload a build artifact. And if we click here, we'll get the details of this actual build action. And what you can do is start copying this. So I can just take this name, upload build artifact, and go to the end here and make sure that the indentation goes right. So let's go here, paste it. And what we can do, it still doesn't use the right indentation. Come on. I hate YAML. Did I say that? I hate YAML. So what we can do here is upload a build artifact. Let's go to use this action, and we're going to specify the parameter where which one we're going to actually upload, right? It needs to know which files to actually upload. So we have the path here, and we can specify the path, and then we can do you can use wildcards here. So we can say /, which is the root of our current folder. We can say double stars. It will go through all the subdirectories /* AAB, because that's the one that we run, right? So we get all the AAB files, or maybe you want the AAB and the APK files, because this build will create both. So we can again do that pipe sign. We can do a little tab here, and you can say another line, and we can say // star/star.apk. And now whenever this GitHub action runs, actually, let me just put this in here, start commit. We're not going to wait for all the results, but I can show you. So if we go to this action, it starts running again because we committed something. And whenever you go to this run, you can see here the artifacts here at the top. So whenever this build completes, you can go to these artifacts. It will download a zip folder, and it will have all the files that you actually specified in that path parameter. So it will take all those files, put it in a zip file, and you can download it here. I think for at most like 90 days, there's a setting to actually influence that behavior. And you can take that AAB file and take it to the Google Play Store manually, or put it on your phone if that's what you want. Do anything you want with that. So that's basically how to get started with CI for your .NET MAUI Android application. Whew, so that was a little process. Of course, feel free to watch this video as many times as you like and as you need. But there's also a little written reference for this, because this video was inspired by Andreas Nesheim. I think he's from Norway, who wrote all of this up also for iOS. And I'm going to turn those into videos. So iOS, macOS, Windows, I'm going to show you all the things, how to build that with GitHub Actions. And of course, as always, let me know down in the comments below what else there is you'd like to see, or if you have any more questions. Thank you so much for watching the end one of my videos. Don't forget to click the like button, and maybe you want to know more about .NET MAUI, then check out this playlist right here, which has all about .NET MAUI, and make sure to click this button. Then you're subscribed to my channel, and all the content will come to you automatically. See you for the next one.